Welcome back to Lakeside Quilt Making Arts. Today we're going to start one of the charity quilts, Comfort in the Waiting, hashtag Avery Quilts. Let's look at my scraps and see what we've got. I remember pulling these from whenever I worked on a quilt for my almost 4-year-old at the time granddaughter, and these were the ones I did not incorporate into her quilt. I'd gotten them from Walmart. They're just Walmart fabrics. Actually, this one is not. This one, I don't know if you can see that. It's sweet little flower and maybe a daisy print on it. I was going to use that as the back of the quilt, and I did, but I didn't get enough, so I had to use something else. I used a combination of this and then fabric that was yardage that was from this line. And I love it because it says what I say all the time, and it says I love you to the moon and back, and keep looking up, and you mean the world to me, those things. So I've got some 5-inch squares. I've got a little bit of large pieces of scrap. Got some cut into smaller pieces. I've got a lot of 2.5-inch. We've got bright colors, some little foxes, paw prints, just some color, and then we have just a printed orange. Can you see that? And so we've got lots of that, along with some green as well. And I think those would make a nice combination to put into an Avery quilt. Avery Quilts quilt. A little bit more yardage of the Love You to the Moon and Back, and I kind of want to keep some of this. I think I've got some yardage of it somewhere. I want to put on the back of it anything that I make for any of my grandchildren or my great nieces or nephews. I want to put some of this on there. So not too eager to use up scraps of that. I want what I have to last the rest of my life on that. Let's see, a lot of 5-inch squares. So maybe what we do is we cut the strips into a rail block that is 5 inches, and then intersperse some 5-inch whole blocks in there as well. That's probably a good way to quickly produce something. More template cardboard. Let's set that aside. Just more, some 2.5-inch blocks in here too that we can use. So now the big question is do we want the rail blocks to have just this green, yellow, and orange? I don't think so. There's not really enough of anything else to keep that interesting. So I need to look for another fabric that will make those rail blocks not so heavy, like maybe a lighter color. These are pretty equal in their value, so we need something either at a really dark value or a light value, leaning towards a light. So let me see what I can find. Hang on. All right, let's see what we found. I have more foxes, foxeye, and then more squares from that same kit. And then there's some owls in the same color. And these are all Walmart fabrics, so they're fairly affordable, and which is good for the charity quilts. So it removes a barrier, right? Right. When you start thinking about making things to give it away, you know you're investing your time and your materials, but having to go out and buy new materials for that just is another way for you to never start it, right? You think, oh, I don't have the money for it. I don't want to spend money on that. I need to spend money on this. So if you can buy cheap but durable, 100% cotton, it's going to be fine. I have used these fabrics in a quilt that I've given to my older granddaughter, who I just love and adore, so I'm not cheaping out on her, right? And the quilt felt fantastic. So it's not like I'm cheaping out on these quilts by doing this. Am I giving them the most luxurious of fabrics? No. You know what? This brings up a topic that we need to discuss. If you would like to donate some scraps or yardage for this purpose, let me know and I'll create a post office box where you can send those things, and then I'll designate those things just for the Avery quilts. So, oh, there's one more box we have to get into. Hang on. Okay, let's look in this one other box. I believe it had some things that belonged in this group too. Okay, these are flannels. We'll pull those to the side. Yes, 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 yes. This is the pile that has plenty of options to blend in. This is exactly what I was looking for. I'm going to use the whole box for stashing anything to do with Avery quilts. All right, that's awesome. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's figure out how to get functional here. All right, this is better. Now, I've got the scraps that I had over there on the tall husky table. They're now consolidated in one container so they can be properly stacked. Now, we have a designated box all for Avery quilts, and we can get started on that. I'm gonna stash my flannel back over there with the rest of the stash, and then I'm gonna show you what we've got going on now. Before we get back to the seriousness of this quilt, can I show you this girl's best friend? That's my Zoe girl right there underneath my sewing machine, just waiting for me and standing by. I'm telling you, whoever came up with the saying, diamonds are a girl's best friend, they were in marketing. That's all about, because a girl's best friend is lying right over there on that floor. All right, let's figure out what our method is. I don't have one, but I am thinking I'd like to disperse the existing 5-inch blocks that are, intact as they are, amongst some rail blocks. Do we want those rail blocks to be made out of strips that are equally wide, or does it matter? Or do we want them to be all the same fabrics, and each rail block to be any mixture of width of fabrics, as long as there's 5 fabrics, or as long as there's 5 different colors? I don't know, we get to make up the rules. But what I do like is that I've got several skinny pieces of this, so I think we'll use that. My main thought with these comfort quilts is that the gift of them is going to matter far more than the elegance of the design or the color choices or any of those things. So I'm trying to not overthink any of it. All right, can you see that? That's my skinny strips, and I've got several of these that look like they're around 3 inches or so. I'm going to put that in the stack. We've got some more skinny strips that are nice and bright. A pile of random sizes and 2.5. I'm going to put those in another block, in another pile. All right, here we go. Let's just work with this for just a moment. That's nice and bright. Nice and bright. So a rail fence, can you see that? Yeah. So a rail fence could be 3 of those, and this had been used for binding. You can see how maybe I saved that for binding because it's already made up. That's always lovely. All right, so let's pull up some of this. Maybe for as long as it lasts, I do this number. I do bold with the flowers around it. 3 bold and flowers around it. As long as each block is either the same size as one of these charm pack squares, or twice this, so that if I make a 4 patch of this, 4 of these, then it would sandwich together with one of these. So I like this idea. I think I'm just gonna sit down at the sewing machine and get started. I'm gonna just sew a bunch of strips and then cut them into the sizes we need. and then put these two strips on the side, these two light strips, this and this, and get a bunch of those and put them on the design board. And at least what we've accomplished is we're getting started. Hey, this is Future Dawn coming to you to tell you not to listen to the Dawn of the past, who you're about to see in the next clip. She's about to tell you that she's going to put this quilt together in one manner and then 5 minutes later have a completely different idea. But I'm leaving it in for a purpose because it demonstrates what that creative process is like, right? As an artist, we enjoy exploring our options. That's the beauty of it. You know, it's just not a surface level interaction. We're considering this and that, color combinations, depth, value, layering. The enjoyment of all of that is what we as quilters or we as artists want to pursue. At least this one does. And I hope maybe it is part of the journey you want to see. So I'm going to leave it in, but just know she's off her rocker. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not going to do it that way. I have another thought about how to put this thing together. I have this one, this is my largest square ruler, and it's 6.5 by 6.5, which means it will finish out at 6 inches. So if I do, let me look at my notes to see if I remember correctly what I'm going to do. Yes, do 7 blocks by 8 blocks. So it will be 7 times 6 would be 42 inches wide, and 8 times 6, 48 inches long. What I'm going to do is make sure that all my blocks are this size. So I'm going to take muslin and I'm going to cut 56 6.5 inch squares, and then I know when I put my strips together and I put them on one of these squares, there will be uniformity between them, and it will be less haphazard. There will be some approach to this that keeps it consistent. I can then decide if I'm going to put an additional border around each block. We'll put it up on the quilt board, on the design board, and see what it looks like. But I feel so much better. I've gotten a start, and that's all it takes, right? Is just to get a good start. So here we go. Let's go make some squares. So what this is going to make is a 6 inch wide block, and we'll cut it to 6.5 as well, so that we will get a 6 by 6 block when it's done. We'll go to the ironing board and press it, and this is where I need to do some thinking. Do I want to always press to just one side? If I use this combination of fabrics, how many blocks will I get? Can I think about the entire quilt being just these fabrics with the blocks added into it too, of course, like we talked about. And if that's the case, then if I'm always pressing in one direction, is that going to mean that my seams are going to be butted up against each other? We might have to do a little trial run to see how that works out. Now's the time, while I'm learning everything else, to try to train my brain to think about that. Iron's not quite hot yet. It's getting there though. When I get my other table here, I think my ironing station is going to be much more functional for me. I'm looking forward to that. I kind of feel like this one wasn't a full 2.5. I'll have to measure that when we get back over to the cutting table. I'm not really pulling, I'm just giving enough tension that I'm not left with a ridge on the front side. I want good tight seams. Pull my ironing board out. So my fabric can fall down the back side. All right, let's take this over to the cutting table. All right, let's make room so we don't cut fabric we don't intend to be cutting. Okay. And again, these are just Walmart fabrics. They're sold in these strips and clear packaging, and easy to add on to the receipt when you're checking out at Walmart. Easy access. Okay. Let's see. Need to cut off the selvages. Let's do that first. All right, we got a nice clean edge. We'll line our ruler up to that. Now we're going to get 6-inch blocks, 6.5-inch blocks. All right, one. I'm not used to using a ruler that doesn't have a handle on it. I have the section to show that to you. This one, I don't remember where I got that from. That may have been from Walmart too. What I really like, here it is the one from the quilt show. You see that? This is great. It's a nice, good handle. It's easy to move. I'm going to get more of these. So far, we've got 3 of these blocks. We're going to get 4, 5, 6, looks like six blocks out of this effort. Cut off the excess edge. Get a good clean edge on this leftover. Scraps. In theory, we'll get more at this size as we do more of these strips. Let's take this to the design board and see what we've got. All of ours, we're just gonna put that right there. And if we do this, we end up with an L out of our orange. And we can do that, or we can do that. But either way, it doesn't matter which direction our pressing went. That's good to know. So we can do a 4 patch out of these 6.5-inch blocks. How many did we get? We got 6. And let's see. Is that how we want to do that? Or do we want to want to do that? That could be interesting. Now hang on, let's do what we were talking about doing. We do a 4 patch out of that. What we could do is we could take more of this and put around each of these squares so that it makes a 6.5-inch block, and then see what kind of design we get. I think I'll try that. All right, 1 block completely bordered with the orange fabric. Let's see what it looks like on the design wall. If I had all 4 of these bordered in the orange and put a 4 patch just sporadically in the mix, but primarily do the whole layout, the whole setting with this. That could be interesting. I don't know. Need to give it some thought. Another thought is it doesn't have to be a 4-patch that is interspersed amongst this pattern. It could just be every once in a while in the setting, one of these blocks is replaced by one of these, bordered, framed out in the orange. That's interesting. But before we go any further, why don't we look at a different setting here? So what else could we do? We could just do a lot of these. You know, everything is just like in columns. Then why did we cut it if we're going to do that, right? And we could do vertical, horizontal, and do it in rows like that. I'm sure that there's a place where that might look good, but it's not rocking my boat. It could work with the blue being the primary color that we want to emphasize. Do we like that? That's kind of interesting. With those 3 fabrics, the orange is pretty dominant. So in this pattern and this layout, it becomes a background, which is kind of interesting. And then the 2 bluish ones really pop. That's kind of interesting. But what happens when every once in a while you pop one of these in there? Got to keep in mind that these guys are kind of directional. Like here they're going down, they're going sideways, that's fine. I think I need to hold off on complicating things because the Avery quilts or the Comfort in the Waiting quilts are supposed to be quick and easy so I can get a lot done, so they can get to work comforting people who are waiting for a transplant of some kind. Oops. I think I like that. I may have to sleep on that one and think about it. I think I like that best. The blues seem to recede and look almost like an ocean. That kind of reminds me of is you've got the ocean with the sunset on it. All right, so this is a good little lesson. This is easy to produce. How many did we do? This is what was slow. This is easy. We did 6, just like that. And I think I said I needed 50. Let me look at my notes. 56 is what I said I needed. I think it was 7 wide and 8 long. I would need to do 8 more strips. We can do that pretty quickly. No problemo. I'll do that tomorrow. It is a new day with a new idea. I knew I needed to sleep on it. So what I'm thinking now, instead of making another set of blocks with these 3 fabrics in this order, is that I'll mix it up. Because I like where this could go. This could make a fine quilt. But I feel like the pattern would take precedence over the colors. And I kind of just want it to be a little bit more scrappy. And I want to play with that idea. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another set of strips with a different order of fabrics. And we'll play with that next. Hang on. Okay, let's think about it one more time, because 20,000 times is not enough. Let's do 20,001 or 20,005. I just went through a series of combinations and I don't know which one I like. I'm looking at this and thinking that's nice and bright. The value of all of this is a lot heavier. This would bring a contrast to it because it's much brighter. That's good. You have some diversity, so it's not so muddy. But a muddiness of value can also be like a nice moody quilt too. But speaking of the quilt in terms of it having emotions, this is novelty prints. Like this one of the ones I had up here says meow on it, and these are kitty cats, and they're definitely a more joyful kind of pattern, and I think that's probably a good way to approach these charity quilts for people that are in the waiting, you know, to maybe add just a little bit of whimsy or joyfulness. And plus, we don't know, you know, some of these are going to be going to little bitty babies, which is why we need to make some smaller quilts and not just something big enough for a teenager or a bigger, younger kid either. Yes, a quilt can have a mood to it, and we're contributing to that with every piece of fabric we pick out. All right, decision-making time. Quickly, before I go to the sewing machine, I just rearranged the order of these because I started thinking about it in terms of what I'm pulling from this set of blocks, the fabrics in these sets of blocks, over to here, and am I doing it in the same order that is over here? This works to complement the orange, okay? And this works to pull out the green in here. And of course, this is the same fabric. These two are the same fabrics, just in a different colorway. So I think I like that the best. That might be the best way to blend. You can't go wrong. I'm looking at these and thinking, way overthinking it. But that's why I'm on this journey. Like even on this simple little quilt, I want to be training my brain on how to think about things from at this point and visualize what it's going to look like in the end. The more I practice that on these smaller, more carefree quilts, the more it's going to help me long term. Hopefully, anyway. All right, I am ready to knock this quilt out. I have my 3 strips that will give us 6 more blocks, right? And what was my combination on this? I think it was kitty cat green, and then yellow. I told myself that well, let me just back up. I'm extending my overnight fast to as an attempt to lose weight, and not doing anything crazy. I am doing my carnivore diet, but it's probably a loose description of carnivore because I am having my yogurt too. Some might say that's carnivore and some will tell you it's not, but anyway, that's beside the point. But I'm not doing anything crazy as far as dieting goes, but I have found that an overnight fast, if I extend it so that I'm narrowing my my eating window, I eat less over the course of a day, over the course of a week and whatever, and it's easier for me to lose weight. It's tricky when you can't be really active, so I have to find all the little mind games, right? Anyway, so I told myself that I'm not going to end my overnight fast until I get this quilt top done. So what I'm about to do is only going to give me 6 blocks, so I better get with it. Of course, these leaders and enders that I'm using back here, can you see that? They're taking more time. It's not like I'm just taking, what I used to do is just take an old scrap piece of fabric and I'd put underneath there as I start and end my line of stitching. But now I'm trying to not waste thread, so I'm making my leaders and enders be actually pieces that I will put into a quilt. See what that looks like? I'll press these open, and I'm taking all of my little half square triangles from other quilt projects, and I'm just putting white around them. And then I will do something else in addition to that. But I'm gonna make up a whole bunch of these. I've got different colors and different sizes, and we'll see what we get eventually. But now it may take a little bit more time, but it will be a cool way to do a leader ender and a cool way to create a quilt. So let's get going. You want to know what just happened? I just sewed that whole thing without thread. Somehow, thread popped out of my needle. Here we go again, round 2. Fortunately, the Singer sewing machine is easy to thread, or this particular Singer sewing machine is easy to thread. I thought I heard something pop just as I started to sew. Wasn't sure what it was. Actually, I feel like that's not in there accurately. Anyway, the Singer heavy duty one, I think it's model 4421 or some variation of those numbers. It's a little bit of a workhorse. It's, you know, it's not an elegant machine by any stretch of the imagination, but it gets the job done. And it has a little needle threader, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it if you're on a budget and you're needing a low-end machine that at least has one trick up its sleeve. This is the trick you want it to have up its sleeve. It works beautifully, and I have been told of a method to thread. Like, there's a groove on your needle right here. My fingernail can feel it. So if you get a sharp point on your thread, don't wet it, and you run your thread point along that little groove, it'll just pop in there. I haven't tried that because I'm not welcoming the opportunity to be annoyed by anything. And I have a needle threader, so I'll just keep that in reserve in case I ever need it. So I will go ahead and get a leader started, and I'll redo this line of stitching. But we'll do it in fast mode so you don't have to watch every second. Speaking of my machine, have you noticed how it vibrates a little bit whenever I've got any speed going on? Well, I think to help myself with that, I'm going to create a quilted pad for it to sit on. We'll see if that helps. It's not going to be the highest priority, but it will at least cut down on the noise a little bit, and it might make it vibrate less, and that therefore will help the mechanics on the inside, I'm thinking. All right, let's take it to the ironing board. I have discovered that I can use blocks that were randomly hiding out in my garage as a tailor's clapper. And when I went looking for more, I found that I had some wood flooring samples, and they're working great as well. And I've got more of these. I love that this one is wide. So I've got a whole board of flooring samples like this. So look in your garage, do what you can to save money, because we all know we'd prefer to spend it on fabric. Okay, I don't think it matters which direction, because we learned that in the other exercise from last night. Which direction when we iron these, open, flat, whatever. We could go open because they're not going to line up with anything else. At least for the most part, they're not. But that's just an extra step. I don't think it's necessary. And we're not going to end up with any area on the quilt where there's more than 2 seams hitting each other. It's not like there's any eight points of star blades that are hitting each other. So I've got a question for you. What kind of things do you keep on your ironing board? I'm keeping a selection of pins. I've got some clippers. I've got a couple of threaded needles. I've got tweezers and something to poke and prod and pull out some seams. I think I need a little caddy that is attached to my board so things are not lying around constantly. When I win the lottery, I'm going to be getting an iron that doesn't have a cord on it. That was going to help tremendously. Enough stalling, let's go iron. Somehow or another, every quilt that I made last year was made with this cutting table remaining clutter-free. That's not been happening since I started creating videos. I think I was questioning that a little bit in yesterday's video the efficiency, hang on, there's selvages there. Let's cut off the selvages. The efficiency of having multiple projects going on at one time is something I question. I like the idea of getting something started and focusing on it until it gets done, which is why I've set my intentions on getting all of my quilt blocks done before I pause to take a breakfast break, which will be probably by that time. Hang on, let's stretch that, yeah. By that time, it will be probably noon by then, but I don't know. Let's see how quickly I can get these done. I may just get 3 of these done real quick and put them on the design board for us to talk about and see what we've got going on. I'm about to cut other fabric if I'm not careful. Let's pull that out. All right, got 2 of these. This is just a fun little fabric. It is just a fun little fabric. Nice and bright and happy. And I think a little levity would be just what the doctor ordered whenever you're going through something as dire as being on a waiting list for some organ, whatever that organ is. I can't imagine that. I know someone who's been there, who has transplant, and then, you know, feel like the hardware that I've had installed and uninstalled of myself was like a transplant of sort. But it's different when you're talking about a child who's needing a heart or lungs or, you know, eyes. Do we do eyes? We do eyes, don't we? I think so. Somehow or another, this got out of square, so I'm going to have to cut it over here too. Interesting. I have to go back to that last one and see if I messed it up. Where is my dumbbell? It's much easier on my thumb and wrist to use a dumbbell. I usually use a larger one, and I feel like it's a little bit overkill for this size of a ruler though. But I like the weight of it because it does the pushing and I don't have to push. Yep, this last, hang on. Yeah, that one is a little askew. Let's use the larger. Yeah, it just feels so much better on my wrists, my thumbs, my neck, and everything. Yeah. I know that these quick quilts, I shouldn't be trying to be too much of a perfectionist because in the end we just want to get them done. But I don't want to practice being sloppy. Yeah, this is interesting. I'm gonna have to trim over here yet again. Clean up that edge and over here, but I don't have the dexterity with my neck and shoulder and wrist to reach around and go towards myself, and they tell you not to do that anyway, so we'll practice some good cutting skills. That's close enough. Nope, it's not either, it slid. Good grief. I see Kimberly Jolly do this on the Fat Quarter Shop. She just slaps it down in perfect position and whips through. It takes her a split second to do it. And then she pieces it together and everything's perfect. I don't know how she does it. She's amazing. Okay, so get that all out of the way. Let's put this on our design board. All right. I think we need to move these pieces for the Mars quilt out of view a little bit better. And so we're not confusing our sense of color any. or at least minimizing that impact. Gotta get these out of the way. All right, let's see what we've got. Do we want to just create sections? Like we could do something like this and just keep all of these together and do a similar pattern as what we've got over here, but then you would have a section like this and a section like this. I kind of like that idea. It could be in 4 patches. This is a 4 patch, and then we could have a combo. Yeah, let's try that idea. A combo. If we did a combo, yes. Do we want all to be facing the same direction, or like that, like the same colors? I think it would need to be like that. That's kind of interesting. So you'd have a 4 patch, maybe make more, create a 4 patch over here, and then you'd have a blend. Or just do all of it like this, just blending it up. I love how, I'm kind of loving this right here. This is more scrappy. You don't see a pattern really, you just see color. There is a clear pattern, right? Because this is orange and yellow. Decisions. There's our other 4 patch. What do you think? I do like the 4 patch idea too. That's kind of interesting. It looks like a map. You've got an intersection of a roadway. Let's just produce some more and see what we get. Let's get another combination of fabrics. Do I want to mix these? Doesn't that look interesting? It looks more interesting now, inserted amongst all this other stuff, doesn't it? Kind of like that idea. You can't go wrong. There's so many endless possibilities. We could do this all day long, and like I said earlier, I want to get done so I can end my overnight fast. Can you see what I added here? It's kind of low on the field of the screen, but yeah, I like that too. I'm going to do this. So this is kind of like what's going on over here. We've got a white in the middle, a lighter one in the middle, and I'm picking up the orange in the original set. So like in the original set, you have like a blue patterned, all right? And then you get a more complexly, more densely colored here. That's what we got going on here, but it also is a center light strip like we have in this block. And then instead of doing this particular orange, it's a different orange. Its value is a little bit heavier, like it's a little bit darker, but it's still orange. And inside here, you've got both. I'm liking it. All right, I'm gonna piece that together and I'll be right back. The magic of video editing, we have 6 more blocks and a panting dog you may hear at my feet. She's needing some attention, so we'll be quick. All right, so we can put blue against blue. Could do this number. Not so sure about that. I think I'd prefer, because these blues are different blues more clearly than these oranges are distinct. All right. So that's looking interesting, isn't it? That's definitely far more scrappy than we were talking about when we first started to lay this out. I got something wrong. Let's see. There we go. So you've got an orange plus, a darker orange plus, a yellow plus, and then a mixture of orange and yellow. That's kind of interesting. Of course, this could be changed out altogether and just be, I could do another set like this, or I could do another set altogether, and then each of these 4 blocks would be from each different combination. Like I could take that down and put that. And then when we do the 4th one, we would have it too. I don't know. Let's keep on playing. Let me see if I can come up with a 4th combination of our fabrics. Just saying, do we like that combination? The reason why I'm hesitating on it is because it's a light value, dark value. This is pretty much a medium, but still it's compared to this, it is still very light. Whereas everything else, you've got a dark, light. Well, I guess here they're all kind of mediums, with this being the darkest. But if it's scrappy, you can do any darn thing you want, right? That could be an interesting blend. I think it's from a different mix of novelty fabrics from Walmart, but I think it's from the same one that this flower came from. I stand corrected. This is the pack that came from Walmart, and this is what was in it. So they had these all packaged together, and I think, I take that back. Some of these that are already up there did come from, like this orange that we used in that first set, came out of this set of fabrics, and this did too. Just the cat ones came from a different set altogether. The cat one had, I believe, this with it and this green. Now, let's see what I've done. So I think this one came out of this set, which is different altogether. And I've got a nice medium value one here. I think that's different than what's up there, but it would work with it. Work with it very well, because it's meant to, right? What else is in here? I think that's it. So, how do I want to go about this? I've got an idea. Okay, that's an interesting combination. I like that better. Yes, there's 2 dark values on either end, but the blue on the far right seems more like a medium, like a darker medium. It just didn't work out in my mind to have 2 light values and 1 dark with that combination we had last. This is worth playing with because it's taken that floral that's here and putting it into another set of blocks. It's got a light strip like the second set has. It doesn't have any orange or yellow, so nothing really strong in that reddish family, which is in my mind an orange and yellow. I know yellow is different than red, but still, work with me. I think I'm going to give that a go and see what happens. If nothing else, I can use them on another quilt, and so I will have contributed to that quilt. All right, we've got the 4th set, so that means we've got 24 blocks we're working with, which is closing in on half, not quite half, of what we need to do a quilt. Okay, how do we like how this looks on here? This is a much darker value than any of these other blues, so it's going to be kind of interesting how it goes together. Let's just see what happens. Do we want this to be our road, you know, our intersection of roads, or do we want that to be our intersection of roads? let's just see. Kind of like that. I don't know, let's see. One more, just do the full. The full layout. I think Zoe thinks I'm talking to her instead of you guys. All right, let's see how much heavier that is. It's not bad that it's heavy. It just is heavier. The other thing that we can look at is, instead of making this 4 patch that's a blend, just being a blend of 2, it can be a blend of 4 different things, which we now have, right? We know these 2 are the same. Yeah, because this is only our, which other one could go there? So that's definitely scrappy, this 4 patch is, because you don't get a clear intersection, right? Because you've got two different blues and an orange and a yellow coming together. It really makes the other crossroads be more prominent. So I don't know that I like that, but it's been worth the exercise of playing around with it. Let's see, I think I'm gonna put it back to having just 2 of them. Where's the yellow? Oh, there it is. So let's take out the 4 patch that is a blend of color sets and take this new combination that we just did and put it in with the others. Let's see. This value contrast is so different. This looks white almost, looking at it in the camera. So what do we have? We've got really dark, and then we have our orange, yellow, and orange. Need to move those a little further away so we don't confuse, so it doesn't confuse the eye. It's not bad, but I don't think that I like this being the plus. Let's see if we like the blue being the plus. Plus, crossroads, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm gonna like that better. Yeah, that looks better. Honestly, if we were doing this for an infant, this would probably be large enough as it is. So I'm gonna do another set, and I may have to call it a day at that point, because it will be noon by then. But hey, I've got 30 minutes. Let's see what we can get done. Before I make that other strip set, I want to show you what I just played with. I took remember each strip set is making 6 blocks, and so I've been playing with a 4 patch out of each of those strip sets, which has left me with 2 extras. So I just took those extras and I laid them out horizontally to make a border, and just filled in that gap with that 1 square that we had done, just to see what it looks like to take this treatment of 4 patches and put a border around it. That's that will be a decent sized little quilt, big enough for a little person. But it's not awesome. It could be if there is a sashing between this medallion of 4 patches and the border. That's an interesting concept. But I'm gonna play around with another set real quick, like I promised I would do. Let's see what that is. I think this is what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna put these three together. This gives me more yellow to take into the rest of the quilt, since there's such a stark yellow here. We've got two oranges already, so instead of adding an orange, I picked up this that we had here in the original block. Actually, no, it's not the original one. This was the original. That might look better. No, we needed contrast. This one's lighter. This fabric is a lighter value than this, and I think that's why I chose this. I chose this because it's a similar value. It's darker, it's heavier than this, but it kind of works with what we've been doing, having a light in the middle. But it tracks with what we've been doing, and that is having a light in the middle. So that's what's next. Okay, we've got the fifth set put together. Let's see where we want to put it. So just to clean up what we're looking at, let's take away our extras. Set those on the cutting mat. All right, so we've got yellow here. Maybe the next yellow should be on the opposite corner. Well, that's gonna make that, well, that may not be a bad thing. Probably gonna happen regardless of where we put it. All right, so where would this next one go? There, and then this would go like this, and this goes like this, and then this one goes like this. Do we like what that's doing? It's not bad. I don't mind that at all. All right, I'm looking at this and I can't decide. I may need you to weigh in. I have done all I can for today. We're gonna get this video done and up. It's time for me to go and eat. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here and playing along, and I welcome your comments below. I did not meet my deadline of getting all this done before it was time for me to stop and do my lunch break, which will be my breakfast break. But I made good progress and I had a good time and I enjoy sharing it with you. I don't want to rush it to the point that I'm not enjoying it, or that I'm making mistakes, or that I'm not learning from it. So it's okay, we made progress. And as of yesterday evening or yesterday afternoon, there was no progress on this quilt. This is my very first, it's almost a year now. It was March of last year that I decided to start dedicating this quilting effort of mine to help the children that are on a waiting list somewhere. And here it is January and I'm just not getting to it. Now, I've got disclaimers for why that's the case, but that is the case. All right, here we go. That's it for now. See you later. Thank you for being here. Bye.